So Meg,
Yeah.
you are the engagement manager at Metaverse HQ.
Yeah.
You're also an artist
Yeah.
and a trader and an NFT consultant
Yes.
and
yeah.
many more things. You wear many
I
hats.
guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of different hats.
Lots of stuff. So we're going to be talking to you about all of those things today. We'll kick off with Metaverse HQ. I'm very curious as to what exactly that is. Do you want to just give me a little rundown?
Yeah, sure. So Metaverse HQ is essentially an alpha community. It was created back in Top Shop days and then token gated in June, I believe. So there's 1,500 tokens and we have about 1,400 unique members at the moment. Like the community is pretty much made up of some of the biggest traders in the space, like educators, devs, just like everyone basically that wants to kind of trade and make money in the space. We have a 24-hour voice channel as well that we kind of all on. I'm pretty much on there like 16-hour days talking to everyone. Yeah, and which is basically where we share market knowledge, market understanding, different projects. Like it can also be on like ETH blockchain, Magic, like Solana, very rarely, but sometimes.
Listen, they're working on it. They're going to
The shade.
They'll be there eventually.
Sometimes Solana, but not really.
When it's off.
I mean, now it's coming to OpenSea. You never know. We could be seeing more of it, but
once they fix it.
Yeah, exactly. When it's running, then maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have like just basically lots of channels for education, office hours, Twitter Spaces, allow lists. So yeah, we're essentially just like a big community of people that just love trading and love spending time together.
So where do you fit into this with the engagement role?
Yeah, sure. So I first started in August, like basically as a community member, come in, was really interested in the trading side of things, wanted to see the other side of like kind of the art side to then the trading side, what it was like to be a consumer in this space. And then yeah, so I just got to know everyone at MVHQ, thought it would be like a really great space to kind of become involved a bit more professionally, I guess.
And so were you, at this point, you were thinking about it from the perspective of your art, like you're thinking about it as an artist or as a trader already
like
at that
as
point?
a trader.
Okay, so you're trading.
Yeah, so the art side of things is completely different from the trading side of things for me.
Gotcha, okay.
It's like I've literally got two split personalities at this point. But
well, we'll explore both of them today, so yeah.
Yeah, So then, yeah, it's also like one of the only spaces that I've ever felt comfortable being a female in because I guess the community there knew I was an artist. So they'd like ask my opinion on the art and kind of, I guess, give me a space to speak and like have my own opinion, which was really rare in the space. And if there was any kind of misogyny or anything like that, it'd get sorted out straight away, which, yeah, was great for me. And I got to know everyone and so I thought like this could be a real good place for me to kind of like put roots down, I guess. And then came to the US last year, met Mitch. We were kind of like speaking.
So Mitch works at MVHQ.
Yeah, so he's actually head of partnerships and marketing at MVHQ. We spent a lot of time together, like trading and like swapping ideas and talking about like the market in general and basically what does Meg Web3 0.20 look like? So like what do I look like in
the transition?
What's the transition from, I guess, day trading, because I don't feel like that's going to be something that's going to be here for like the foreseeable future. Maybe
in NFTs?
Like maybe like the next few years, but like this amount of wealth is just like ridiculous.
Why do you think it'll end in a few years?
I don't think it will end. I just think the landscape will look completely different. I feel like at the moment we're using the blockchain like really irresponsibly. Like we're putting out PFP projects like left, right and center that have like no utility, that are startups that like crash after min, or I don't know, like they're basically glorified memberships to communities, right? At the moment. And that's not really the way I feel like the blockchain should be used. With my very little knowledge of like the technical side of the blockchain, I feel like it's more suited to, I guess, like, I don't know, things to actually prove their existence and prove that you own that. So like house deeds, or for the art side of things, it would be like proof that you own that physical piece of art, and like you have the rights to that piece. And I guess also in terms of like revenue split, it's really easy to see who gets what,
and your resale and all that sort of stuff as well.
The creatives then get what they're meant to be getting, and it's like, that is more where I see it going. And also obviously the play to earn gaming stuff is going to be huge, but I just feel at the moment we're putting out PFP projects like left, right and center that it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to like everyone else coming into this space either.
On that point, I think a lot of the people that will criticize just the entire space, like crypto in general on Twitter or whatever, they'll look at any given random PFP mint that's just happened and been like, this is a joke. This is ridiculous. None of this needs to be done with crypto either. Like it could just be a random database of stuff and you're just selling your sort of slots in a standard database. It doesn't need to be on chain, right? I don't know if I would say that it's like misuse. Maybe I shouldn't use that word, but there's a lot of enthusiasm for something that is not being used for what people are enthusiastic about.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that I feel like it's just a lot of very intelligent people that have got a shiny new toy and they're just going crazy. And, you know, it's like with any business or any new thing that you've got to kind of work through the kinks and really get to understand why you're using it and what you're using it for. So I think that's all it is it's just so new that we're all kind of excited and doing that. And obviously like the whole wealth of the industry and how much money people are making is obviously very lucrative. So that's why you're getting all these rug projects or scam projects or PFP projects that are coming out with like no utility or whatever. And it is literally just the money for a lot of these people.
But so you, correct me if I'm wrong, in your engagement role, that's less so just engagement, let's say like social media engagement, and more so you will kind of act as a bridge between MVHQ and a given project that you might be either consulting with or partnering with, whether it's whitelist or all sorts of stuff. Is that right?
So I was brought on to do the consulting side of things.
Okay.
So the launch pad, making sure projects are ready for mint, like giving them pricing advice. It's very like strategic, top level advice that I'm giving.
Sure, yeah.
And then also being brought on to do like educational piece. So I guess mass education to onboard people into the space safely. That part at the moment hasn't been activated because it's just me on my own.
Okay, so you're building a division almost.
Yeah, so we're literally building a whole consulting and education arm, but the kind of what I've been doing is helping the marketing team basically reach out to all the projects and have conversations with them daily. We take around 8 meetings a day, so it's quite intense.
That's those 16 hours being put to good use.
Yeah. So just basically getting to know all the projects that are out there and the landscape. And it's basically like I'm doing my own research on every single project. Like I'm having that half an hour where I get to like, I'm lucky, like I get to grill them, like I get to exactly understand what they're bringing out and whether it's going to be like profitable or not. So I basically have time booked out to do my own research, which is great.
Which we could all do more of.
Yeah. For the education arm of things, are you going to have that forward facing like the public, or is that going to be just for Metaverse HQ people or for other projects?
Yeah. So we're kind of like up in the air on that one at the moment. So we're building out a content arm at the moment. We have people internally that do a lot of educational pieces, like field reports, or they'll do, I guess exactly like YouTube videos explaining like the space and strategies. And we have lots of different documents, but my arm would probably more be like helping clients on board their like in real life clients at the moment. So say, for instance, like you have the Coolman's Universe, like the guy that owns it, I think he has like 2.3 million followers on Instagram. Like how is he gonna onboard those 2.3 million into this space and like onboard them into like the Coolman's Universe? Like what does that look like? And that's where I want to come in and build a team out so that we can offer the consultation launchpad services, but we can also offer the educational arm where we're able to then onboard those people into the space like safely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how that looks yet. It could be through Zoom meetings. It could be through YouTube videos. It's just something that we're looking to build out.
Because the reason I asked about this a second ago is because talking about operating in the space in a more responsible manner and using the tech for what it is enabling newly, as opposed to what's already been possible with like legacy technology and traditional finance. It sounds like your role in building that arm out and also in what you're doing right now is essentially trying to craft a lifeboat to get to that future where things are being done in a more responsible way. And you'll be talking with these projects to say, hey, this is a good way of operating with your little startup that is essentially trying to raise capital, right? Like that's what these PFPs or whatever are all doing. And so it's about trying to help what a lot of the time are just kids that are just getting into this to go from being just a scrappy bunch of like hungry entrepreneurs to a group of people that can actually fashion out a company that operates in the space in a sort of sustainable way, I guess. Is that fair?
Definitely. I mean, the whole point is if we're helping these projects and we'll have more, meaningful projects in the space, more meaningful communities, and from I guess outside perspective as well, it looks a lot better when we're kind of having those projects that are doing well. And that was, for me, it was more about making sure that that we're trying to bring more meaning to each project. Like we'll speak to a lot of projects and they won't even know what their kind of like unique selling point is or what their mission statement is or anything like that. And because I have a background in like a creative agency where we do all like the brand guidelines and really like hone in on like what their mission statement is and then building out the comms around that.
Right.
That's where I'm using that I guess experience into this, as well as doing since August, I've been doing like day trading every day.
And that's all NFTs.
All NFTs,
Gotcha.
since August. So, well, not so much now because I'm doing this, but I used to know like inside out what the market was saying, like floor prices on everything, the reasons why, like what I expect from a mint. So not only do I bring like the agency side of things, I also know exactly what I want as a consumer.
Right.
So it works in, I guess, tandem to bring that expertise to projects.
It's interesting, something that Matt and I have discussed a fair bit that we found really interesting in trading NFTs and in our own separate bubbles is how separate they are and how you're spending a huge amount of time every day talking with these projects. And like you said, you're trading as well, which means that you get a totally different, like it's like an entire extra wealth of experience and knowledge and insight, right? Whereas with Matt and I, Matt's got his group and there's like thousands of people in there and you guys are constantly working on every new hot project that comes out. You're getting in there, you're getting in touch with the project, you're talking to your group about it. Like that's a lot of stuff going on. I see none of that. Right. I see only the like next level along, I guess, which is when I'm seeing stuff on a Twitter a lot of the time is where I get a lot of that. Like there's certain people I follow who I'm like, yeah, this guy's really got his ear to the market, or maybe, oh, she's working on this project and she's talking about this. And so I'm seeing it come through on my feed or those sorts of things. But it's a very, very different landscape that we both operate in. And I think it's been quite difficult in some ways when, like, I've been hit up by you and a handful of other folks that are like close mates of ours that will be like, yo, have you heard of this project? We'll be like, what is that? And like, I'll look at the, like, who's following them on Twitter. No mutual followers. I'm like, how is this? And it might have like 50K followers, but I just have no mutuals following them. And I follow a lot of people in the space. And the fact that that's even possible,
it's usually a red flag.
Yeah.
If you have no mutuals, like it's usually a very, very telling sign.
I mean, and every time Lex hits me up with a project.
That's
It's
tough.
got no mutuals.
That's tough. If your friend hits you up with a product, you got no mutuals,
Dude, literally,
it's a hard no.
I won't name the project, but the most recent DM I have from Lex literally says, "Have you heard of?" And then he links me an app. I click the app, 0 mutuals. I said, not really my scene. Sorry, but
That's tough.
it's really difficult. And even when you have a few mutuals or whatever, just keeping your ear to the ground on the whole space. Like 6 months ago, more or less possible, more or less.
Yeah.
Now, like certainly as an individual, no chance. No, like I feel like you either choose your sector and you stick to your sort of sector as an individual, or you're in a group. You're in an MVHQ, you're in your group or whatever it is. You've got some wider operating arm because there's just so much going on.
Good example.
Yeah.
I brought up Parallel, right? The card game to my group the other day.
Yeah.
Literally nobody knows what it is.
That's
I know
This
what
makes him so mad because he's like he's the most bullish on it that I've seen of anything I've talked to him about. Super bullish on Parallel.
So
in my group, people are like, "What is this?"
This is so to give you some context here. I brought up Parallel Alpha to Matt for Pack Drop 2, I think it was. I don't think you managed to mint for Pack Drop 2.
I did get 2. I got the second one. I didn't get the third one.
Okay.
I couldn't get the last one because of the bloody website weren't working.
Right. Yeah, they had some issues. But so I brought this up to Matt. I was like, Matt, I'm mega bullish on this. I think that this is like they're doing such interesting stuff. I love the art. There's a whole bunch of factors why I think this like really solid team, etc., etc. Matt was like, "What is that? Like what? Right? Okay." And then
But you also brought it to me when I was very new in the space. So to be fair, I didn't have any clue what was going on.
Okay, so like several months go by, and we're approaching another pack drop, and I'm like I've got like a handful of friends that I'll chat to about this sort of thing, and I was saying to them like, you guys really should be like trying to mint here. This is going to be like a really good opportunity, etc. And so like a handful of them will like try and get a pack here or there, but they didn't really dive into the ecosystem too much. And then just recently, we were talking to a friend of ours who will probably might have already been on the pod at this point, Brandon, and we were saying and Brandon's very deep in NFTs, like super deep into all of it, does lots of trading, is like playing a lot of like play to earn stuff as well. That's like really where a lot of his focus is. And I mentioned Parallel to him and he'd never heard of it last week. And it was just another one of those scenarios where he's neck deep and I'm neck deep, but I'm in a different ocean to him, completely. And
entirely.
The thing that's crazy is like the Parallel ecosystem will be play to earn. Like there are going to be the Prime token has like a 40-page white paper on their plan for that. And so this, as far as I'm concerned, is like a massive cog in the play to earn ecosystem. And yet Brandon, who is all about play to earn, hadn't even heard of it. It's like, how do you keep track of everything?
You need access to information, and to get that, you need to have like you said, a group, like an alpha group, MVHQ, whatever group it is, whether it's just you and your friends doing it. Like you have to have people feeling out the whole market because there's so many new projects coming out. Like we said, a lot of them are not necessarily educated on what might be the best utility or how to run a business. But you need to have those feelers out there because every day, like we're both on this 14 to 16 hours a day, and every single day without fail, there's a handful of new products that I've never heard of that are worth knowing about. Right. And I just have never heard of them because there's that many coming out right now.
Yeah. And it's also like not only is there like Twitter as a resource of information, there's a lot of different tools as well. So there's like a tool called Mobi, which we use a lot, which will show current mints coming through, which will show like each project in terms of volume, like what's the top volume within like 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour, 6 hours, and then the floor price, the average price of sales, like how many sales have come through every 10 minutes. So it's basically like a live feed of like the whole space in general. I guess not the whole space, it's only on one blockchain, but
it's all on ETH.
All on ETH. So that's really helpful. And then we use like NFT Nerds, which is like shows in terms of volume and trading, it will show graphs, and like we've learned to look at graphs. And
so it's like a Dune analytics for NFTs, kind of like
it's quicker than Dune.
Yeah.
Dune is more like historical data.
Yeah, and also a little bit more fiddly.
Nerds is, I would say, it's funny because NFT Hut is one of the businesses I am part of. And we also, it's very much like Nerds, Icy Tools, Moby, slightly like Nansen. Nansen's a little bit more like data-driven, analytical than
but Nansen's so goddamn powerful.
It is, but I'd say for beginners, it's incredibly difficult to understand.
Yeah,
Fair.
agreed. And
You have to really know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's also expensive.
Yeah.
Actually, Nerds is quite expensive as well. But anyway, these are powerful tools. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, and I honestly, when I got Nerds, I was such a geek. I loved it. Like we watch Nerds and Moby like all day, every day as well. We have that up, and I don't know how I would have, how I traded beforehand, like timing the tops or timing the bottoms, or understanding like the market volume of what is going on, or how many listings are there compared to how many NFTs are in the collection, or just all those data points are so important to be able to like trade NFTs. And I think the landscape of NFTs at the moment are like the traders, which is what we are. You have like the kind of Twitter sphere, which is like the influencers or the people that hold one or two either blue chips or up and coming projects, and they're really part of those communities. And then you also have like the art side of things, which is like the one-of-one artists, and they have a completely different mindset of what this space is about as well compared to us. And then I guess you've then got like the play to earn that's coming in at the moment. So we're probably going to see that community start growing a lot more as well.
So just jumping in on that, it's so interesting that like originally, I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say this, but certainly early on, so much of the use case that people were saying they were excited about for NFTs was artists getting their check, right? Like securing the bag at last. They've not been paid fairly for so long, etc.
Yeah.
But you've just listed, and I agree with the like little denominations that you sort of set out there, a whole load of different sectors of the space, and the sort of trad art sector there is just one chunk, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that is not that. It is like distinctly not that. And so I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are on, especially as someone who was a traditional artist, let's say, first, what you think the sort of optics are for maybe an artist coming into the space now. They see how it looks. They see the fact that in order to be able to trade all this stuff and to navigate the space in a lot of ways, you need all these crazy tools. You need to be part of groups. And like, that's kind of antithetical to what an artist might want their art to be doing and how it should be being consumed, right? So what do you think about how that might look to a new artist and how sort of sustainable this current way of operating is?
Yeah, so again, I think a lot of artists are shielded from the trading side of things because that's not what they like to do. Like they want to create art. They're quite in those little communities. So when I first started, it was pretty much like me and my other art friends, art collectors as well. So you have quite, I mean, it's just a community. And like, I guess because it was all built on Twitter as well, the algorithm is only showing you the people that are in that community as well. So like you are pretty much shielded from all the other projects. So yeah, it just feels like you're in a bubble basically. And I mean, I did come in and I was like, what the hell are these apes? Like, what the hell are...
I think everyone has that moment, right? Yeah.
What the hell are these punks? Like, why am I seeing all this on like my feed and all these like crazy stories about the trading space and like rugs and everything like that, and what's a mint? Like I literally came into into the NFT space, like didn't know what crypto was, didn't know what MetaMask was, like didn't know what a blockchain was, I've never even heard of ETH.
Okay.
So it's been like a massive learning curve for me. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the artist space in general, I guess like it's great because you do have some use cases, like obviously Xcopy or like Gabe West or a bunch of other artists that have like made a lot of money doing this. Like, to be fair, including myself, like I made more money than I would have thought I could have made as an artist, especially since this is literally, I've only been doing it for 2 years, like creating art. But then there's also like the other side, like you only ever hear success stories. You have like hundreds of thousands of artists like putting artwork out there, minting, like using Tezos blockchain and going on Hen, or using and not being able to use Ethereum because they can't afford the gas fees to mint their artwork. And so the landscape's so different. And I always say, like, when I first started as an artist, like, it was always 20% art and 80% marketing.
As a trad artist, like a
traditional,
Interesting.
So I started literally when the UK went into lockdown. Like that day, I was like, right, I've got to do something. Like, because I'd also, similar to you, like I had in 2019, I think I had like a really bad mental breakdown where I was in bed like 20-hour days. I couldn't speak to my family without like basically having to go back into my room because I was like so anxious. And it was really like, it was probably one of the worst periods of my life, but I just started to like kind of get better and started like interacting with my family again. And then COVID hit, and I'd been told I had to shield as well. So that meant that I couldn't leave my house at all. Like I'd had to stay in and do nothing. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to do something proactive to actually, I guess, make myself feel better. So that's when I decided to do my art as a kind of like therapy, like to, I guess, get my emotions out and like tell people how I feel without actually having to speak the words. So it's very similar to what I do now with my art, is where I actually was on Facebook like every day, building up a community there, joining. Like I don't know how much you use Facebook anymore, but there's like a lot of different groups. So I was posting my artwork in all those groups every day. And so it was literally 80% of my time was spent on Facebook. I'd wake up with like 200 notifications that I'd have to go through and like reply to everyone and stuff like that. But that is how I sold my artwork, was through that.
You're hustling, really hustling.
Facebook.
So,
that's surprising to hear.
Again, it was like,
but good to know.
I was spending like 18-hour days on there, and I feel like, although obviously my artwork is what it is, and people connect with it because of they've also had like mental health problems or
I mean that's when sorry to cut you off, but like when I first saw your art, I first saw your art last year, and this is before I knew anything about who you are or what else you might be doing in the space or anything. I just saw the artwork. I think I was in the Punks Discord, and I saw some people mentioning it there, and then saw it and was like, wow, this is not only something that just at face value I really aesthetically like the look of, but then also feel like there is an underlying kind of message in there that really resonated with me because of the fact that, like I mentioned to you before, in 2019, I had also gone through this really difficult time with my mental health, and I was seeing sort of reflections in in the art that you were making, in what I was also feeling about that time, and it really, really resonated with me. So I totally see what you're sort of saying on that point.
And so I was basically spending like 14-hour days on Facebook, I guess basically shilling myself and my work. And because I have the marketing understanding and the knowledge, I knew like about the Facebook algorithms and what words to be using and things like that. And then it's such a long process because I was then, every person that commented, I was then like, join my Facebook page. And then when they liked my Facebook page, I'd then like target them with promo, like paid advertising, my new works and stuff like that. So it was all very strategic, but a lot of work. And it's the same, exactly the same. It probably even worse in this space because you don't have gallerists, you don't have curators, you don't have people that are specifically looking for new artists to bring in and basically give them exposure. So here it's exactly the same thing. Like if you're not good at marketing, then
you're kind of sunk from day one.
Yeah, pretty much, because you're just using one online platform, which is Twitter, to promote yourself. Like Instagram is just irrelevant for NFT. So it's literally just Twitter. And yeah, it's pretty difficult.
Well, that's really interesting though, because I've heard so many artists say, I've tried to get into NFTs, or they're doing it. They're in the process still. They're trying to get in. They're trying to break through. And they feel kind of bitter towards the PFP craze and that sort of stuff, because it's like, it's taking away from like me making this art that really represents part of who I am or my experience or whatever, right? But it's very interesting to hear that in the traditional art world, there's plenty of room for that to also happen, where you're going to have to be putting in those 14, 16, 18 hour days of marketing your stuff. It's not just you make the art and it sells, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of those areas where there's like a pro and a con for just the crypto space in general, where it sort of democratizes things in a really interesting way and means that people just have access to all these incredibly powerful financial tools or this new art sector, and it's in their pocket right away. But at the same time, there is still a huge number of people that feel kind of disenfranchised by those tools. They don't feel like they do actually have equal footing compared to everyone else.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why like education is key. And that's that.
What would you say to someone who is an artist that might be watching this that would want to get into the space? Like, would you consider using Facebook still because you can direct, target customers to market to? Or would you say Twitter? Like, what kind of advice would you give someone who's an artist that might be looking to get into it?
Yeah, so for me, I'd say basically just do it. Like that's the one thing that a lot of artists are hesitant to do is get a MetaMask, to get some crypto, to just jump in and try it, because OpenSea has what is called as lazy minting. So you like mint once, you pay the gas fee once, and then that's it. You can put as many works as you want on there. To get involved in the community. So artists use Clubhouse a lot, use Twitter Spaces a lot, to follow as many people as you can on Twitter. It's not like back when we were 12 and it's better to have like less followers.
Not anymore.
No, yeah, the ratio's there. Basically, the whole point of like this space for a lot of people is community. So follow people. Follow a lot of people that have like hashtag NFT collectors. I did a lot of research into like who, not my competitors, but who people doing the similar work to me. And I went through basically all of their pieces on OpenSea and followed every single one of them collectors.
Smart.
So then I'd interact with their profiles or put notifications on for them and have those kind of conversations with them. I'd also go into like a lot of different, so for instance, I bought like a Cryptoad because I was like, I love Gremplin and I love his artwork.
We love Gremplin on this YouTube channel. We do.
And I went into the Discord and I knew that like a lot of my collectors were in there. So we all just got chatting, and then I'll tell them about my artwork.
You're just vibing in the Discord.
Yeah, and so like one of my first collectors is like a big punk collector, and he's also like a big art collector as well. And yeah, it's just about basically having a community, speaking to people, finding innovative ways to like market yourself and just get involved in the community, which is what I did. I guess I kind of went about it a weird way, but it's worked for me compared to like, I guess, other people.
I mean, I don't know if it's weird though. It sounds like you've done it very intelligently, because you've essentially said, how do I not just make the art and wait and hope something happens, but more so, for lack of a better term, sort of growth hacked your way to sales, which is what ultimately it sounds like is as close as you're going to get to like a fast track to getting that success, right? And to breaking out into what is a really competitive scene that can be mega lucrative, but also can just go nowhere if you don't really put those hours in, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you were really smart about being particular in how you found the buyers. Genius. Like, you just used all the tools that are available to everyone, right? OpenSea, Twitter, and just found the collectors that are buying pieces similar to what you're putting out and started talking to them.
Yeah.
It's genius. Honestly, it seems simple, but I think that's like, most people might not think that's obvious.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like you said, you just dive in, and then, once you start to learn about what these different things are, if you're new to the space, use the tools that are in front of you and kind of find your customers that way.
I guess a more like of a micro level as well is to really understand like the market as well, to basically ask for advice as well. Like, I have people message me all the time, and I'll have a half-hour conversation with them and talk about pricing and talk about like making sure that the artwork itself is up to scratch, making sure it's really high res. Like, what do you want your customer base to use this for? So for me, the ultimate thing with mine is obviously I want it to be displayed. So what is that going to look like maybe in 5 years, or, you know, or 1 year, when we've got these really good digital screens that are going to show every single scratch like on the work, to make sure that, you know, you're using like high res scanners, or editing the picture to make sure it's going to look really clean on a big screen, to basically understand that as well, and just to make sure that attention to detail is everything, because you've got to stand out in this space, and that kind of professionalism is something that does stand out, I think. Yeah. And it's also about like the psyche of an artist as well. Like, coming into the space, a lot of artists feel like they're not worth like what people are willing to pay for their artwork, so they'll price it really low, and then like the market will be like, well, they've priced themselves low, so I don't feel like it's even worth buying.
Interesting.
Or the artist will be like, yeah, my work's probably not worth 0.1 or 0.15, which is where I first started out, and they'll go to the Tezos blockchain because that's where they feel comfortable, because that's where a lot of the artist community is. And it's a lot of it is about not understanding the NFT market itself. And I have like a lot of friends that will have collections, and then it'll be put on the front of OpenSea, and then the volume will go up and the floor price will go up, and then obviously like 2 weeks later it'll tank. Like, right. And taking that as an artist, like for me, I've completely separated market versus artist. So if my floor price is like, I think it's at 0.4 at the moment, like I don't take that personally, because I know it's probably just people liquidating for the next PFP project. Right. And then when my work was being shared in the Punks Discord, my floor price went up to like 4 ETH. Yeah. And it's just understanding that it's not your artwork, it's the market that is, that it's just the market that we're in. But is like a key to, I think, longevity, and also understanding the consumer side of things as well. So a lot of artists I've seen have saturated the market with like lots of different collabs, which is fine. Collabs are good, and it's a good way to, you know, share communities, but they will put out about an edition of 50 and they'll keep putting them out, or they won't understand that like the customer base in terms of artists, they want like, say, I can never say the word, but like just basically not as many on the market. Scarcity. That's the one. Yeah, they like scarcity, which is why I've decided to do like a collection of 200, and then I've not decided to do anything after that. But because they don't understand the market, they make mistakes, or they'll feel down about it, or they'll feel upset, and they'll wonder what they're doing wrong, or people won't be in their Discord, or I don't know. They're not, because they're not marketers, and they've come from like a very harsh art world in the first place to this art world, which is again completely different. And they're not marketers, and they're not traders, and they don't understand all of that. I think that's where like they fall down in terms of like the longevity in this space, because it is quite grueling, and it's quite hard. Yeah. Which are then on the other side of that, I'm starting to see, like, I don't know if you are as well, but a lot of projects, or a lot of, I guess, communities are now trying to do like incubators for artists. So people have seen a market and a niche, and like a need for these kind of incubators. So I think we'll start to see a lot more of them come on the market for like one-of-one artists.
Interesting.
To help them in that respect, yeah.
For one-of-one art, what do you do with the actual physical copy?
Yeah, so this is, I don't want to like fud my own bags, but like almost fud my own project.
Yeah.
But
here we go.
But I'm like, for me, there's such I don't know, so like disjointed in my mind, because we went to go and see Rafiq yesterday. I don't know if you know his work. He's like it's basically data and art mushed together and these really big screens. It's just incredibly mind blowing. Like, it was incredible. So his work is digital and data. And then that's what he's been doing for years. So it was natural to come into like the NFT space and have the blockchain technology behind that. And like same with digital work as well. But with the physical work, it was like, as I was saying earlier, like I feel like the blockchain should be there to basically prove that you own that physical piece. And that's that. But like, that's not what I'm kind of doing, and that's not what the collectors are doing either.
Right.
So
I mean, it's like an example is with Denzas, right? You can claim your physical, but then you can still just sell the digital. You can sell the NFT,
exactly.
And the new person doesn't get to claim another Denza. There's only one physical that's claimable. So
exactly. So it's for me, it's kind of like, there's the NFT art collectors that are not native art collectors. They've come into the space, they've had their X copy, they've had their punk, they've had their art blocks, and they've come into all this money. So then they're buying one of ones that they think are going to be worth a lot more in the future. I guess it's kind of like the art world in a little bit, but it's in a lot shorter time period. And that's great for like digital artworks, but it's like, with the physical, there's kind of like a disjointment in the fact that you can claim the physical artwork, but realistically, they're only buying it to flip it and to trade it, which is basically like, I feel like that's the whole space in general, is that's the mentality, is to buy something to then make more money out of it in the future, whether that's like short term or whether it's long term. Right. Yeah, so for me, I'm like, well, if I'm selling this work and they've got the physical, but they're just trading it, I'm just kind of like, in my mind, it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
So I'm kind of waiting to see. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if it's big where maybe when there's mass adoption of digital screens that like I'll feel like my work's more relevant to be sold.
Do you think also it could be the right collector comes along and you're like, you're going to keep this for life, so the physical makes sense to send out, as opposed to, or is it less about that and more just like the world isn't there yet?
It's really hard because a lot of people see NFT one-of-one art as like the main piece, right? So for me, the original, the physical, that's the main piece. And then you do your prints from that, and you do your t-shirts from that, or you do your, I don't know, you put it on Instagram, and then that's another like copy of it, or you put it on Twitter, you put it wherever. And then that's the copy of that. And for me, an NFT is the copy of the original. So it doesn't hold as much value in my head, but to the collectors, it's the other way around. They think the NFT is much more valuable than the physical. And then in the art world, people think the physical is much more like valuable than the NFT. And it's like, I think we're so early in terms of like the collab between the physical art world and NFTs. I don't feel like there's,
I don't think there's an answer.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a responsible way to be using that blockchain at the moment.
Well, that's why I asked, because I was curious. I was like, do you keep them? Do you send them out? Because sending them out's tricky, I'm sure, because you may not know everyone who buys all of your art. Yeah. And then I was like, do you burn them? Is that crazy to say? Like, because then it's truly just the NFT is the one of one. Like,
so this is what I was thinking. So I started obviously not knowing anything about the NFT space, and I was just like, right, my friend's done it. I've seen him make some money. Gonna get a MetaMask. Gonna put my work on OpenSea. Done. Yep. And then it kind of snowballed from there before I could actually understand the market, like the marketplace or the space myself. But like, this is all those things have come up in my head as well. I'm like, actually, I do send the physicals out when they want them. If not, they're kind of just in my bedroom at home. But that something like that was what I was going to do, is like create a collection and then just get rid of all the physicals. So then you've just got the digital asset. But yeah, something like that would be a much better use case, I think, for an artist to come into the space. But just, I can't get my head around the physical and the digital, like merging together at this point in terms of an art, on the art side of things.
Right. Which market would pay more for one of your pieces right now?
NFT space.
Okay. That's it. There's no hidden agenda here. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Yeah. I think it's obvious, but like with an NFT, it's digital, so it's way easier to send it across the world. Send it across the world, or you have a way bigger market of buyers. So I'd assume that it's more, there's a higher price tag there, especially right now, because I think a lot of people in the space are, like we've said before, like have a lot of money and have the knowledge of what these things could be worth in the future. And that's like a lot of the motivation sometimes. That's not to say that your physical pieces couldn't be worth more in the future, but I was curious to know like where it's at right now. And I'm not surprised at that answer, but also wouldn't be surprised if a year from now, the NFT is worth way less than the physical one, right?
Exactly,
so that's why it's a great question. Like, do you keep the pieces? Do you send them to the people that technically bought them, or do you destroy them so it's really just the NFT? Like, that's a really good question to kind of think about from the artist perspective.
And in terms of like the copyright as well. So obviously with a lot of different like PFP projects, you own the IP rights to it and you can do whatever you want with it. But a lot of those buyers are buying artwork as well, because they've seen that, I know I keep harping on about, but Xcopy, like
Xcopy is a great artist, so I'm here for it.
Like, the way you can make the money and stuff like that off of him or she. So they then think that they own the copyrights to your artwork as well. And it's like, it's just a completely different ball game, because I own all copyrights to every single thing that I've ever made, even if someone buys it or,
for sure.
And it's the same with the NFT as well. And it's all those like little nuances that you have to kind of learn. I think
that whole thing is also like the majority of folks, I think, that are buying NFTs don't understand anything to do with copyright whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so just recently with punks and all the discussion about being CCO, and you've got like toads that are like doing really cool things there. And it's like, that's all great, but it's it's so abstracted from the conversation that everyone was already having about NFTs and about like just like liking certain art or liking a certain project, that I think the vast majority of people, even if they're like a punk holder, they don't really have like a super clear understanding in a legal sense of like what rights holding the NFT grants you. And now you've got Yuga Labs, which have given you licensing rights to use the punks, but licensing isn't ownership. And so it's like, there's all that sort of confusion, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's probably quite intimidating for artists who are coming in and sort of looking at this suddenly being like a trend, like the whole CCO thing being a trend, and going, well, crikey, do I need to now like relinquish all the ownership and rights of all my artwork as soon as I make a sale? Or like, how do you even sort of navigate that? And I don't think there's an answer yet.
No, and again, it's the whole thing with education's key. And on the other side of things, with like the PFP projects, you'll see a lot of artists like not getting paid what they're meant to be getting paid, because essentially it's being run by teenagers or people that don't have like the business sense to, I guess, put contracts in place right at the beginning to divvy out the amount that everyone's going to be getting. You'll have artists kind of coming out and saying that, that all rights have been completely taken away from everything that they've done. And the project managers or the other people who have taken full control of that project, and they'll have been kicked out. And so, I mean, it does give artists the access, I guess, to more money if you put in the work, and I guess there is a massive element of luck because of like the algorithm and everything like that. But there's also a lot of chance for artists, especially in the PFP space, to get scammed out of a lot of money or not understand their rights. I think that's what the main thing is.
So I'm super curious to get your opinion on this, right? I don't know the complete nitty-gritty details of it, but the Bored Apes artist, the woman that made the art for all of those, right? She, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm aware, got paid like a flat fee for doing that. It was a single one-time thing. And obviously the Bored Apes now is a multi-billion dollar project, multi-billion dollar ecosystem. I mean, as an artist, I guess on the one hand, you are being paid a commission to create a thing for a company, and they're like, we're going to own the thing when you make it. So like, can you just do this work? And you say yes. On the other hand, they're a multi-billion dollar project now. Do you think that she should be given more payment or compensation or something for the fact that the project has now ballooned massively? It's like the biggest thing on the planet right now.
I don't think she should, no.
Okay, because I've seen a lot of people saying she should be paid more. She should be paid more.
Yeah, so I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that she's a woman as well.
Okay.
And obviously, like, it's the meta now to try and uplift women's voices or side with women, or I guess use that as clout to make yourself look better. On Twitter and things like that. And yeah, I do agree that maybe she should have been put into the secondary sales, like contracted in. But like at the end of the day, if you have that agreement with someone, like that's that. What would have happened if they'd gone to zero? Like,
right.
She wouldn't have been saying that thing there. And again, it's about the educational piece that, you know, you see these artists get taken advantage of, or they're not sure quite what they're doing when they're entering into these projects. But just try and learn. Like, there's people out there that can help you and become educated in what, you know, the revenue of this project is gonna maybe have. So
and if it does have legs, how you can then have a piece of the pie.
If I was to be asked to do a PFP project, like my first thing would be like, well, how much are you going to be raising? What percentage is going to this? What percentage is going to that? What involvement am I going to have after? Because like, if I have no involvement after that, like one project, then technically I probably should only have a percentage of the mint, because why would I be having the secondary sales? Because that should be used to fund the community, to fund the project going forward. And it shouldn't be going to me. It should be going to the team that are currently on the project.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's like you're just forming a cap table, right?
Yeah.
It's your startup. And if you're going to give out equity, like right away, to someone that's only going to do some work for you one single time, and then that's that. Yeah. Then that's a very, very different agreement to, hey, can we just pay you X dollars and complete some work, and then it's a freelance piece, and then it's done, right? And I think the core of that debate that a lot of people have been having with it is, was she taken advantage of and perhaps misled? But I don't necessarily know if people have gone as far as to say that, but should the Bake guys have from the jump said, you're going to get equity essentially here, or not? And I again, at face value, not knowing the complete extent of the situation, I don't see why she should have been sort of handed that on a silver platter, but I think she could have totally justifiably fought for it. Yeah. It's just that, like you said, the education in the space isn't quite there yet, where a lot of artists will just be like, well, I'm assuming this is just going to be something they're going to just do whatever with. It doesn't matter.
Did she know that it was a NFT project, or she had no idea? She thought it was just like a, you know. I'm
not 100% sure, to be honest.
I think that matters. But other than that, I gotta agree. Like, if you make an agreement, you're not you got to fight for what you want in an agreement. Yeah. Whether it's in NFTs or any other business in the world. Like that's how it goes. You got to fight for yourself. No one else is going to do it for you.
But if you, sorry to cut you off, just if you know someone, like let's say you were hiring me to do some work, and I quote you a rate, and it's stupidly low. Is it morally cool for you to be like, all right, we'll do it at that price? Or do you have an obligation to be like, well, you should raise your rate?
I was going to say something.
Because I've done it 3 times now.
Okay.
So, as a creator of a project to an artist. And it's a little weird because I work with a lot of these people for production already.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And they also happen to do like the art for these 2 projects so far. One of them is a 3D like model artist.
Yep.
And one of them is like motion graphics.
Okay.
The motion graphics one was pretty bare bones. I asked the same question to both of them. What's your rate? What do you want to be paid? And I gave them the whole layout of exactly what the product is. So they know it's an NFT. They know how many we're selling. They know what price we're selling. Like, they know everything. And then I asked, what do you want to be paid? Like, what is your rate? What do you, like, how do you want to do this? Whatever they tell me, I pay them. Whatever amount of hours they charge, I pay. I don't even ask. Like, is whatever you tell me you want, it's yours. So but if you don't ask me for, like, some people ask for percentage, which is smart. Some people on my team have like, I want to be part of, I want to have cap in so that way, because then everyone's incentivized to like try to make the product do better, obviously, which I think is great. But some people just ask for like, my rate is $100 an hour.
Right.
And it's going to take me 150 hours to do. And I was like, okay, that 15 grand or whatever it is, and done.
Yeah.
Some people want, half and half. Some people want flat rate. Some people want equity.
So is that technically taking advantage of their lack of understanding? Because at the end of the day, you're a business. You're doing
going for
you're doing what you got to do what's right for your business. It's also very funny because I'm here as a content creator, right? And I will go to a brand, and a brand might have, let's say a brand has like a 7-figure budget for like an ad campaign that they're doing with a bunch of creators, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll ask me what my rate is. So I'm kind of in the artist's position, just in a slightly different world. Yep. And I've had brands come to me and say, hey, we want you to create this ad for us. And I've gone back to them and said, well, is this going to be used for like a global marketing push? Is this just like a Twitter video? Mm-hmm. Like, if they're not going to be clear on that, how can I price it, right?
Yep.
But a lot of people in my position won't know. They just won't have any idea. And so if I say to a brand, yeah, give me $100 for like creating something that's your global marketing, is it the brand's responsibility, if they're acting in good faith, to be like, buddy, ask for more, or no?
My quick answer is no.
Interesting.
But yeah, there have been situations where we, like in your position, right? It's a little bit different. It's our company being hired, subcontracted by another production company.
Yeah.
We've made a quote like more than what we usually charge because we know the grand scheme. I can't name the company, but it's a big company.
Yep.
So we're like, okay, like it's a big deal. We know it's going to be on a big scale. We know the distribution is going to be large. They're going to make a lot of money off of it. So we'll charge a little bit more, like 50% more than our normal rate.
Yes.
They've come back to us and said, that is way too low. We're tripling it.
Wow. Okay.
And we're like,
this is a real example.
Real example. Really happened.
With Playback.
With Team Playback, which is a production company, right? Yeah. My production company. They've come back and said, we need to make it 2 or 3 times higher than what it is, or they will literally say, we're not going to work with you because it's too low. They think it won't be done well enough because it's too low.
Wow. Okay.
Which is crazy because the truth is, like, we've worked with them before on other projects. They know, like, this company knows that we can do exactly what they need.
It's just getting sign off. Literally getting sign off.
Like she said before, like if it's too low, people think, oh, it may not be worth it after all. If you're not charging like a premium value, they might not even be interested because it's too low. So there's that side of it too.
Just
in a weird way. But to answer your question, like, how I can't hold everyone's hand through business.
Exactly.
And if it becomes like an ethical thing where it's like, okay, like I'm not trying, I want people to make their bag, right? Like if we're going to make a lot of money and I expect them to make a lot of money, I want you to get paid well too.
Yeah. You're not going to extort someone and be like, I'm not going to pay you. If you're going to be like, yo, I charge, $30 an hour, I'd be like, no, you don't. You charge $100 an hour. I will say that, but I'm not going to go and be like, yeah, I'll give you $500 an hour. Even if I'm willing to pay, like at some point they have to be fighting for themselves to some degree.
I completely agree. And that, like, obviously it's like, oh, poor creatives, you've got this whole narrative around the fact, and it is true though, right? That we don't know what we're doing and we haven't got any business sense but at the end of the day, like, we don't have to act to that narrative. We can go out and get what we want, which is, why we're all sitting here today. And as well, I've been on the other side where I've worked in recruitment. So I've had to get people for a salary that is right for our business as well as right for them. So it's not just about paying creatives what they're worth, but it's also about being in like the actual, I guess, the budget. Like you have to make sure that you're fitting within your budget. And I might have a budget of like 30 grand to hire someone, and you've got to get it down to that, or you've got to maybe cut it back so you can use that extra budget for somewhere else. And so it's just a lot of like negotiation and give and pull, and you should, as a creative, know that that's what you're going to be expected to come up to. And again, it's the same thing. Like if I'm charging, say, $100 for an hour compared to someone that's charging $200 an hour, like I guess psychology would tell me that the one that's charging $200 is going to be better. So maybe I would pay a bit more. So it's just all about like knowing your worth and going out and getting what you want. And in terms of like the Bored Ape thing, again, like who could have known that we'd be sitting here and they'd have like over 100 each floor, and they've just been given like, each ape has been given like what was it, like 140k
plenty of
dollars
money.
in ape token.
There's no way to know that.
You wouldn't have known that. So you have to look at it at the start and at that time where they were a startup company about to go into NFTs and they wanted an artist and she did the job that she was meant to do, and then the rest is history. Like, that's just that. Like, you couldn't foresee that it would have done what it's done. And if, like, a smart thing would be to, like, you know, write into the contract that you're going to own a percentage, you're going to get a percentage of the mint. So you'll get like 3 or 4 Bored Apes out of that, or something like that. Like, there's a lot of creative ways to be paid that isn't essentially in fiat or dollars or ETH or whatever as well.
So a follow-up question is, so I've had situations where I've been talking to, like, I think I'm reasonably business savvy with when I'm selling my company's services to a brand, right? I've been doing this a long time. I've been making YouTube videos for 13 years. Like, I've been in the space. I've been doing brand deals for years and years and years now, and all sorts of different kinds of things as well. But I've run into situations even as recently as in the last 6 months where I've had a creative friend come to me and say, "Hey, Milo, I noticed that you're like working with this brand. Don't know like where that relationship came from, but like, can you like put me in touch or whatever?" And that's evolved into me being like, "Oh, that's interesting. You don't have this kind of background knowledge of these things." And then I would talk with them a little bit more and say, like, "What are you getting paid for XYZ work with XYZ views and these, that's, and the others?" And I've been like very, like, almost horrified at how little they were getting paid. And so I've said to them, just as a fellow creator, like, you should be getting paid like 5 times this, like minimum. And they've been gobsmacked. They've been like, I've done this for like multiple years and I've been getting paid 1/5 of what I should be getting, right? And so I guess it's something that I just know is such a pain point for so many creators. And again, exactly as you said, it's not your job to do their business for them, right? Like, they're going to have to, if they're going to be successful as a creator, being a YouTube creator or an NFT artist or whatever, like all of these different roles in the creator economy are not just the act of making the thing. It's, like you said, 80% marketing potentially, or it's maybe more than that. There's so much more stuff. There's the social media, there's the going to events, there's the networking, there's the da-da-da-da. And if you're not willing to do that or able to do that, yes, your business is not going to be as successful. And I guess that's just sort of life.
That's capitalism.
That's capitalism, baby.
That's how it goes.
You've got to think, like, how did you know to charge 5 times more than this guy? Where did that information come from?
I was just like, I'm worth it, baby. Let's like,
it's also like this, if you're in it long enough, there's some degree of like a market value.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you have to have some clue.
Even today though, I'm like, you think there's a market value and then something will come along and you're just like, where did you get that number from?
We're
like,
also
lower or higher?
Both.
But we're also British and we don't like to ask people how much they get paid.
This is very true.
I've stopped doing that and I ask everyone now how much they get paid.
Let's go.
And I also ask, like, I'll be like, oh, my artist friend did a collab with them, right? How much did you get paid? And I'll be like, that's not enough. You need to be doing this, and this. Like, you just need to understand what people are getting paid in the space and where you fit in, and that's that. And then then you'll get hired because you're putting yourself, your value and your knowledge and understanding within that market, and then you'll get hired because you're valuing yourself at the right amount.
Right. And I think you can also leverage that where as soon as you start actually being a bit more analytical and thinking, okay, I can see XYZ of my peers and they're earning whatever they are for like their stuff. And then my stuff, well, I'm providing this service and that service, and I can do this better than all these people and all those sorts of things. As soon as you can translate that and tell a brand that you can do that, they're going to pay more money because they're going to be like, oh my God, there's like a whole list of things here that are clearly like you're itemizing your value for them. Exactly. And a lot of creators just won't do that. They just don't know how to approach it.
And that's another thing, like, with the consulting side of things, we had no idea how much we were going to be charging an hour. I had to go out and ask like loads of other people what they charge and what the market was looking for. And it's exactly the same as what you said about like itemizing like what you can give, to the fact that I'd be like, we can offer you pricing advice because we've been in the market for that long. And they're like, oh, you can do that. Yeah. Whereas with us, it's like that's the most simple and easy thing to do.
Right.
But the people that are paying for your services don't know that. So you have to tell them. You literally have to act like you're the expert and let them know exactly what you can do and why you're worth that much money.
Yeah. And sorry to just jump in one last thing here. It's funny because crypto in general is so young that, and I know that some people are like, oh, we're not early anymore. But like when you've got,
shut up.
Shut up.
I feel early. Let me feel early.
Let me feel
I feel
it.
old in this space.
Yeah, but like there's still so many startups that will be figuring out as they go. They really are. And like MVHQ, you're providing a consulting service like through them, and that didn't exist a year ago. That wasn't a thing.
No.
So it obviously makes sense for you to be in that kind of explorative process of sort of building in public and doing it on the fly and just like learning as you go along.
Yeah.
I called a crypto tax company earlier today because, oh my God, taxes are terrifying.
Oh yeah,
Jesus
please
Christ.
don't. I probably need the name of your tax company.
Well, this is the thing. They were like, sorry, bud, but it sounds like what you currently are doing is not something that we've built infrastructure for.
No one knows how to do it.
Exactly. And then I was like, okay, so like how should I approach this, that, and the other? And he was honestly like, your best bet is just to put it off as long as you can.
No way, that's so bad.
And I was like, okay, well, like I get it. Like I get that being the advice that I was given there. I'm not going to name the company, but the reasoning for it wasn't him just trying to sort of get me to tax avoid, but it was more so the tools they're building in order for submissions to be correct. The like all of the background infrastructure, it's a daily changing landscape. It's being built every single day.
Yeah.
And so you've got these situations as well where like, yeah, I could file something that is like 95% complete and correct, or next week it could be 96% complete. And it's this whole dynamic thing. So just to tie it back to where we were before, just the whole thing of how everyone in this space, whether you're acting as a brand, whether you're an individual, whether you're an artist, whether you're a creator, and it goes beyond NFTs as well, but especially with NFTs, I think, because they're so new, is figuring out as they go. And so that goes back to your point originally of just saying, just do it. If you're an artist, the best thing to do is just to get moving. And
Agreed.
once you're moving, then you'll make mistakes as you go, but it's like I think I saw a thing on Twitter literally yesterday saying one of the most liberating parts of being a founder, like a startup founder, was realizing that every step back is still movement. And you've got to step back to step forward. Like you've got to just keep moving somewhere because it's all, no one knows what's going on.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And I mean, you'll know like the meta changes every single week. Like 1 week will be in anime meta, the next will be in like simp meta, and then the next will be in like cute PFP project meta. And it's like, where do you fit into that space? But it's about, I guess, taking like a massive step back and just understanding like what you want, and like don't listen to all the noise. Like, what are you building? Because essentially, like all these projects are still startups, right? Like Bored Apes is still a startup. Cool Cats is still a startup. We've seen like how they've made one mistake with their game and the floor price has dropped. And like, I mean, it's now gone back up, but one wrong tweet, one wrong message can send these projects to like zero anyway. So you've got to, I guess, learn and take the good and success from their bits, but really just like understand what it is you're building instead. And I think once you understand that, you can then tie in all the different metas or all the different like avenues that we're going. You can kind of adjust what you're doing to fit that, as long as it just stays core to what you truly wanted to build within the space.
I guess actually I'd be interested to hear what you think of this, Matt. How have the group's needs changed, and like how the hell have you? Because I'm sure that's like it's like a different job to track an entirely different kind of ecosystem, right?
It's I'm really resonating with a lot of things you're saying, because you do a lot of the stuff. You're making it much more like business oriented, like consulting, agency, launchpad, like these like terms that I'm like, I talk to other projects and get whitelists to add value for my group of DGens. It's the same thing, but the way that I look at it is never been that like business oriented or startup oriented.
Do you think it should be?
To answer your question, like the honest truth, I mean, I mean, definitely trending more in that direction, because it's just, for me, it's happened really, really quickly, and building a team out has been it's taken like 2 months to like really get to where I'm like, okay, this is actually a running operation now, and not just me like figuring it all out as I go. But to answer your question, I think like the truth of it is most people in the space, from my perspective, that aren't brand new are here, or even some people that are brand new, are here to make money.
Yeah.
They're here to flip in the trading side of things, at least, maybe not the artist side of things as much, but they are here to make money. So amongst all the noise, whatever trends going on, whatever meta is going on, whatever is popular and hot at the time, all I'm trying to do is add value for people that are trying to, level up in the space. And 99% of the people in my group, at least, and what I've seen from most groups, they're trying to stack ETH. Right. They're trying to make money.
Yeah.
And so like, unfortunately, a lot of the times, like projects that are really like great teams and really have some decent utility and have cool art, like a lot of times they still get flipped on, and like, that's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind constantly and trying to build like analysts and like information is the most important thing, I'd say. It really is that it all boils down the same thing, right? Yeah. Whether you have a pre-sale and you have access to the pre-sale, you have to know about the like it's all about information.
Yeah.
Knowing about things before they blow up, having tools like Moby, NFT HUD, NFT Nerds, Icy Tools, like all this stuff is just a bubble of information. And if you have it before everyone else does, that's the easiest way to make money in this space right now.
I also think like the alpha groups that we're in are really good examples of what I was just explaining, of like startups in this space that have on their macro or micro level know exactly what their mission is, which is to make people money, is to make ETH.
Right. Yeah.
And then we have, I guess, traveled through all these different metas, but like been fluid because we've been able to understand that our mission is still to stack ETH, but how are we going to do that? And that would be the allow list, or that would have been like, I don't know, Top Shot back in the day, or like anything that's coming through, or how to, I don't know, set gas so you win at a gas war, or how to find up and coming projects. Like we're, I think, good examples of groups that can see a longevity in this space because we are able to change because we know exactly what our core value is.
Yeah.
And so even though, we're talking about PFP projects, or we're talking about like play to earn, at the same time, essentially what we're doing is being part of these startups as well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're having to be very nimble, right, the entire time, which is really interesting. This actually brings me to a question that I want to ask both of you that someone out there has been itching to ask. I'm sure. I'm confident. Okay. Paid alpha groups in crypto have a bad name.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Pretty much all the time.
I'm gonna debate that, but okay. Go ahead.
They have a bad name.
Not the people that are in them.
Not the people that are in them, but the people outside of our alpha groups.
Yes.
Don't
that
like
are also in the space, or like mainstream people that don't know about.
Also in the space.
Also in the space.
Because I think that's you.
That's
you
not
one of those
just
people.
Me. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Like you have that perspective is what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm not part of an alpha group.
The reason why is because people don't like to say they want to make money. And I found this as a female as well. Like I get people that are so shocked about the way that I talk and the way my mentality is and the way,
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm all about it.
This has been a great
I'm
chat.
like, we need more transparency. People need to talk about what they're making. It's public. So like, you don't even have to question it. You can just look at it.
And I'm like my friends, we had a big time gaming like demo the other day and they were like, I'm so excited. And they're like, Meg, why aren't you excited? I'm like, I'm excited because I've got assets and I know that people like you are going to be my exit liquidity. And they're like, okay.
That's brutal.
But like,
I love the savagery. That's great.
It is so true. Like in the ecosystem, my thing is to obviously like I want to do all the like bring more women in and I want to like maybe
so you can dump on them. So you can dump on them.
Yeah. But in terms of things like big time gaming, like there will be a lot of people that will want to play the game and they'll play to earn and they'll make money that way. But you need people like me in that ecosystem to like buy the product in the first place and to flip it and to then
and to give feedback and all those things.
Yeah, and then to add to the volume of the OpenSea. So then it comes up on like, well, Big Time's a bad example because it's not on there. But
sure, but like an example would be Pranksy with his apes. Right, he had like some ridiculous number of apes, like an absurd number of them, and sold them all for like relatively next to no profit.
Yeah.
Had he not done that, had he not sold them and generated that volume and distributed to like important buyers and stuff, the project would probably be in a completely different place right now.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, you need people to flip, to get the volume, to get the exposure, to get on all the tools that are up and coming.
Yeah.
You need people to projects want volume, but then they don't want flippers. So that there's that disparity between those two things as well. And there is a place for everyone in this ecosystem. Like, and I put a tweet out the other day where I was like, you may all hate alpha groups, but like, give me a reason to hold. Like, give me a reason to like actually want to hold your NFT and like be there long term. And like, there are projects that I do, but
I just have so many arguments against why would you hate an alpha group?
Because
it's mutually beneficial to flip. It's mutually beneficial. Both people are making money.
But it's because it's the mentality that like we're so brazen about the fact that we want those quick gains and we want money. And whereas people are like,
but that's the truth.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that.
Exactly.
And
but
here's the thing.
It's been hidden under a layer.
You said it really well. Like, give me a reason to hold.
Yeah.
If people are selling your project, like the market doesn't lie. That's why we're here, right? Like if your project's failing, it's not because it's bad luck or people are flipping it and it's alpha groups that are the problem. Your product's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the market does not lie. I firmly believe that.
I
so
agree.
if people are flipping your stuff, if they're flipping it for high prices, you're benefiting there, right?
Exactly.
And and someone else is buying it at a high price, it's staying high, right? Like. And it works itself out.
If you're flipping, you're creating secondary revenue for the project.
Of course.
So it's a win-win situation.
Exactly.
Right. So how do you respond to the criticism that with paid groups, you are essentially working on, and this is going to sound harsher than I intend it to, but it's just because this is the way
lay
the
it
world.
I want to be able to not answer a question. I want to get grilled.
Same.
Okay. So what is your answer to the argument that paid alpha groups, and this doesn't just go for NFTs as well, but also especially, I think, even more so maybe, groups that are just doing TA and they're just trading, right?
For crypto?
For crypto, yes. That you're taking advantage of people that want to make money. And at face value, they will gladly tell you they want to make money, right? They're not well off. They think that buying access to one of these groups is going to guarantee them money. They're promised a dream. And then they lose money. They end up having to exit the group. They don't make the flips that they want to make. And then because there's just such a stupidly large volume of people in the space, you can just rotate around the conveyor belt of fools that will just walk in the door, spend their money on you, and then leave out of pocket.
I don't think there's that many people yet, but continue.
Yeah.
Like in the last couple of months, sure, there's a lot of new people coming in.
Yeah.
But I don't still relatively, it's not like an absurd abundance of people, right?
And also I think it's the way that alpha groups set up. So we don't promise anything. We give you the tools, we give you the education for you to make that decision yourself. Whereas a lot of alpha groups that are like here and then they're gone the next day is because they do promise that. And that's not sensible or necessary.
Do you just real quick? Do you think if it's just like a TA group, there's just a trader that's like, I'm going to post my calls in a chat or whatever?
Yeah, like a pump and dump group.
Could be, or more so I'm thinking someone that just says, I am a profitable trader and I will share my thoughts in this Discord, let's say, right? Yeah. Of which there are loads of folks that do that.
Yeah, I know,
And they're expensive. Do you think that, and I think especially with trading, there are enough people where you can just continuously find new people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Do you think that stuff, that paid group side of things is bogus, is immoral, is wrong, or is it like, do you have any qualms with it? Or as far as you're concerned, is it like someone is offering a service and someone willingly bought the service and then they bought the service? So like, it's like their loss. Again, you can't do business for someone and you also can't make their financial decisions for them if they choose to buy those things.
Yeah. So I think first of all, to separate TA from NFTs because they're different. I think.
Interesting.
I think crypto is not the same as NFT. From what I've learned, they are not. They're different spaces entirely.
Completely different.
So that's the first denotion I would want to make.
Yeah.
With NFTs specifically, I bring it back to the same question, the same thing I said before. Yeah. The market doesn't lie. If someone's willing to pay 4 ETH for a pass to get into my alpha group, or 3 ETH to get into MVHQ, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get if they're not getting the value, they're gone. They're going to sell that and be out of there. Like
okay, pause. I don't think that's entirely true, because you can market something. You can market poop and sell it for you can sell poop for a lot of money.
But how long can you sell poop for before someone's like, okay, this is just poop, I'm out?
How long can you market?
You can't market something forever if it's not good.
Yeah.
And yet,
you can't.
And yet there are
for a certain amount of time, yes.
There are totally unprofitable traders out there running paid groups with their TA that doesn't work.
But then they should just follow their wallet, and then they'll know exactly how much they're making.
But these people are they're the greater fools. They're coming in, they don't know what's going on. So like it's like taking advantage of people that don't have a clue.
Okay, there's like different areas here.
Yeah.
There's like very different areas. There's different tiers to it too. So for our groups, right? The top tier group, it's an NFT. The market doesn't lie. That's my answer there. It's
As in the
really
membership,
hard.
Just for people that don't have the context, ownership of an NFT grants
Allows
you access to the highest
group.
level of membership of the group.
Correct.
Okay.
And the current value of both of ours is somewhere in the ballpark of $10,000, which is serious money. So if someone's paying that, they're expecting to get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if the floor goes down, the price of the membership goes down, it's safe to say that people that are leaving are willing to like sell out for less because they're not getting that value.
Yeah.
Or they want liquidity, one of the two. But usually over time, you can see like, okay, if the floor is stable, there's a good chance people that are there are getting the value that they deem necessary to be there.
I just don't think that that's true though.
So you just don't believe the market. You believe the market's not an accurate representation of what a value is.
I don't. No, I don't. Because
that is like a
do you
foundational difference between you and I.
do you think the Balenciaga jeans are higher quality than the ones I'm wearing right now?
It's not about quality. It's about market value. It's about perception. It's about the brand.
What is the value?
There's so many different ways to add value.
Okay,
whether it's the branding, whether it's the actual quality of the material, whether it's just people wanting to boost their egos,
etc. Right.
That's partially subjective, but as a whole, the market gives a really good read on what it is because it encompasses all different kinds of people that have different opinions on what value is.
You're also thinking of something completely different to what we have. We have big communities of people where everyone gets involved.
Yes,
you have a massive team, and we have a team of people that give like these drop schedules, or they give, market knowledge or understanding. And it's the people in those communities that basically also hold that floor price. But you're talking of someone that's a Twitter influencer.
Potentially, yes.
That is, like I've seen people that will do it in, I don't know, like $300 a month. And it's not an NFT you can resell. Like, for that, I mean, it is maybe, it is what it is. Like you have these people that everyone calls bad actors in real life as well. But it's about your competence and understanding that like, you need to do your own, you literally have to do your own research. And you were saying the blockchain doesn't lie. So I could go and find that person on Twitter. I can go and find their wallet. I can go and look at them on Etherscan and see exactly what they've been doing, how much money they've been making.
Right.
I can look in Discord to see if they're like pump and dumps or if they're, actually providing value. So there's a lot of ways you can, although obviously there's now a lot more people trying to scam, there's also a lot more ways to verify and like do your own research because that information is readily available to you. Yeah,
I guess it's just and again, to like for the record, it sounds like what you're doing both in your respective camps here is like not the bad actor side of that, right? Like it sounds like you're wading through a huge amount of information and condensing that and providing that. And it's a service that clearly people are profiting from, like clearly. But I know for a fact there are people out there that will go on the MVHQ website, right? And they'll see, I think that on the homepage, correct me if I'm wrong, I could pull it up, but I'm pretty sure it says it's like one of the biggest NFT alpha groups in the space, something like that is like right there. And like, even when I clicked on it, like, I read the words NFT Alpha Group and I was like, like, because there's a part of me in the back of my head that just worries that it's this kind of almost parasitic thing of, and again, I don't think MVHQ are doing this, and I don't think you're doing this either, Matt.
Just talking shit.
How I know there are people in the space that will be doing this where they will market it like crazy because they're in. Let's say they're a YouTuber. I'm sure you can agree with me here, being a YouTuber yourself, your viewers, a lot of the time, they will blindly follow you into battle. They will just, a lot of people don't know any better. They don't have their wits about them. They're just, they will follow. Is that fair?
I don't
just as an initial statement.
I think it's too generalized.
Okay. You won't be baited in. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like although we're concentrating on alpha groups, I feel like isn't that just marketing in general, right? Like
it's just 100%.
The NFT space is just a very intense, small version of like the in real world. Like, so for instance, you used to have, I know, sneaker groups that used to flip sneakers, and they've all come into like the trading side of things. And
hell, I used to do it in RuneScape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So although we might market ourselves as that, and you know, we do have laws to try and combat like marketing that's not right, but at the end of the day, this also happens in real life. Like, and we might say we're the biggest alpha group, but you need to go and like make sure
and check. Do your own research, etc. Right.
Again, I guess even the way you said like alpha group and the way you were describing it, like it's like a dirty word, and it's exactly the same as like saying about really making money as well.
I guess so. I guess.
But again, it's not anything to do with the space. It's just to do with like how society deems making money and how society, I guess, deems capitalism. And
there's weird sort of tension like, in there.
Yeah, it's a lot of, I think, subconscious, like deep-rooted opinions that we've been given like in previous experiences that have made us feel like making money and making money quickly the way we are is like a really bad thing, and you know, it's like a dirty thing to be saying, and it's all taboo. But this is, for me, is like I've never had access to this amount of money, and you know, it's been life-changing, and I feel that it's been such a distribution of wealth among people that have maybe never going to be able to have that again, that everyone should be able to do that. And it's just about more, not saying you were attacking, but attacking different communities. It's more about trying to break down the barrier of entry to people that, as you say, don't have that money. Like, how can we get people without internet or a phone, how can we get them into the crypto space? And it's not, you don't have to come in just as a trader. You can also come in as like, I don't know, a dev or a project manager or a community manager. There's so many ways to get involved in this space.
And it sounds like you're also reinvesting money that MVHQ will be making back into education stuff anyway, which is going to be infinitely useful for those like new participants that don't know what's going on, and maybe whether it's you hosting a Twitter space or it's you doing an AMA in another Discord or like whatever it might be, right? Those are all they're like value adds for the whole space, not just for MVHQ.
Like, don't get me wrong, there are people that message me all the time that are struggling to make money, or they don't understand it, or that it's just like, I view trading as a job, and this is my job, and I have no emotion towards it at all, which is, again, it's been quite hard to hone that kind of skill. But essentially, we're helping them make money, but at the end of the day, this is their job, and we are just giving them the tools and like additional tools. So like, I don't know, like the allow list or Mobi or just
lots
like,
of access,
lots of different access to different data points.
At the end of the day is what it is, access information.
Right. And they use it how they want to use it,
exactly.
right?
I've never, like, it's really eye-opening to see how much of a bubble I'm in, and maybe you are as well. Like, there are definitely different subsections of a small space, because I've never seen Alpha Group and thought, oh, that's a slimy, like, you know, community that's leeching off of these new people. But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like that's an opinion that I wasn't aware of, because the bubble I'm in, all these people that I'm like, that are other influencers, other creators, are making their groups so much money that they're like hot, you know, they're like, people look up to them to a degree. It's like, you know, it's like, it's the opposite almost. It's like they're helping these other people that are in the group, that have access to the group, make so much money that it's clearly worth them staying. And then obviously it's like, you know, they're thankful that they've had that opportunity to make life-changing money in some cases.
Again, it goes back to that we're taught, aren't we, that we have to, have an education, work 20, 30 years to get any sort of good salary that we actually want. Whereas now people have access to literally years worth of salaries you could make in a day. And it's insane. And, to try and change that mentality of having to put all that work in to then come in here and being able to do that, I think is a bit jarring for some people. And, that's where people are like, well, why are they doing that? How can they do that? Like, that's not right. Like, that's what people will be thinking.
I guess for me as well, I guess I have a personal hesitation or reservation about it in that I know for a fact I've got a lot of young people that watch me. They might be 13, 14, 15 years old, right? And this is something I've talked to you about, Matt, as well, because I know that this is something that has gone through your head a lot and you're constantly having to think about with your content.
Yeah.
You run a paid group.
Yep.
But you also will have viewers that are 16 years old. They're not financially responsible. They don't really know what's going on, but they know that they're a fan of you and they know that they can spend whatever money that they want to, like whatever tier they want to be at to get into that group. And I do think, as much as, yes, you can't do business for other people, and yes, you can't make other people's financial decisions for them, and they should do their own research, etc. Especially when it's kids involved.
Yeah.
If it's a 15-year-old that just doesn't know better, and again, I know that you are very careful about this because we've talked about it, but there is, I think, an obligation there, a moral obligation, not to sell them a dream and then have them buy into something, realize actually this can't make me money for whatever reason, and then lose a bunch of money, and you've just sort of, for lack of a better word, rinsed a 16-year-old out of like significant amount of their net worth, right? So like with that, but what I'm basically, I stumble on with it all is just the tension between that side of things, which for me personally, I know is like a real risk. If I start tweeting out about some random Ponzi that hits me up on the DM and says like, we'll give you 100K to talk about like safe guinea pig or something. But the like,
that's a step further.
Yes.
Like paid to talk about it is definitely in my opinion, different than offering a service of information. I think maybe one of the other distinctions to make is that an alpha group is not necessarily endorsing projects. Right? Like we're providing information of projects that we think could have potential to do well, but that's not saying like, hey, these guys paid me 20K to talk about their, like, it's very different.
Right. Okay.
Obviously you have to denote that with FTC guidelines and everything. So
sure.
But even like whitelist has become like a bit of an area that's, I'd say, is a bit of a gray area. Like
that's what I said to you the other day. I saw you doing a giveaway.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this you vouching
every
for the
group is doing this. Like you are getting access to a project, like a pre-sale access more or less, right? That allows you to buy a project ideally at a lower price than public. The difference now is that it's become like almost entirely whitelist. So it's not really, it's almost like the only way you can get in at Mint is whitelist now, which wasn't that way 2-3 months ago. No. It's changed very quickly. So it's super hard to navigate. Like where's the fine line of being ethical and being, like putting disclaimers out that like we have some kind of, incentive here. It's not necessarily financial because you have to pay. You have a whitelist, it's not worth anything.
It's
Sometimes it's a discount, but most of the time you still have to choose to pay to buy a project.
Oh, so it's purely access.
It's purely the ability to buy early, right? And previously that was really valuable, like in January especially.
Yeah.
When there were still public gas wars, you wanted to not have to pay the gas, you'd pay much cheaper than everyone else had to.
Yeah.
Now it's almost all whitelist. So if you don't have access, you're not getting it at Mint.
I see.
You're buying secondary at whatever price, whatever price it is.
Yeah.
With lack of demand, the whitelists have become almost useless in my opinion. So it's like, it goes both ways. Sometimes they're worth a lot, like they're almost worth currency because they're so valuable to get that early access because you can flip a profit. Yeah. But if there's no demand, they're almost useless.
Yeah.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I've always denoted on my tweets, like my whitelist group, my alpha group gets whitelist for this project. That's like my disclaimer because that's really all. We're not getting paid to talk about it. I'm not getting paid anything. Yeah. I'm just getting whitelist spots for my group and also giving some away to my community to help grow my, my following. But at the end of the day, like, it's white. It's literally what it says. It's whitelist. It's the ability to purchase something. And, and they have to make the decision to use their own money and purchase it. And I can't really, I can't, like, I only work with projects that I actually think have some potential, but at the same time, like, I can't tell them whether or not to use their own money.
Yeah.
So it's super hard to be like I want to talk about things that I think could do well, but they might not do well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And at the end of the day, like, not financial advice, do your own research. It's cheesy, it's cliche at this point, but it's the truth. It's like, don't follow me blindly. I can't hold your hand through every investment you make, because I can't do that. That's not my job. It's not my place. I don't have that legal responsibility.
If
you lose money, it's on you. Like, at the end of the day, you are making your own decisions. We are providing information to help you be aware of what's out there, what's going on, be in the know, right?
And as you said, like, the difference between, I think, us and influencers, or as people like influencers that make alpha groups, is that
which we, in some degree, am.
Yeah, but you're more like I think
when you built a team.
Yeah, I was going to say normally it's one person that's doing the call outs, and then they will all follow. Whereas yours is like the difference is they'll get paid for that, or they will just do that because there's an incentive for them. Whereas for us, we are curating for our community. So we are doing that due diligence of like having these phone calls with them, making sure they're not going to be like a rug project. And then we are letting our communities know that we've had that interaction with them. We'll then have office hours or AMAs or Twitter spaces where that will be the group's chance to be educated on the project. So it's the fact that we curate and educate, whereas the other groups that I feel like you're more talking about are it's very self-centered and it's profit for them rather than for their community. That's really a difference.
Really interesting, because I hadn't been thinking about it from the perspective of you are doing the do your own research thing, but almost on the behalf of all of these people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, in some senses, they're paying for like a boiled down little burst of due diligence before buying into something, to say, if it's got the MVHQ stamp of approval, I know Meg's been on a call with them. I know that there's been AMAs in the Discord. There's been all these like checks and balances almost.
Yeah, and we're very transparent whether we've had that conversation with them, what we think about the project ourselves. For instance, we've had a project the other day where the mint weren't going so well, and we were speaking to the project and they weren't taking our feedback very well, so we just pulled the partnership and said to our community, like, don't mint this because we've had this kind of conversation and it's not going well. So although like sometimes we make mistakes, we own up to those mistakes as well. So like the community trusts our decisions because they've seen like a track record of the fact that we're putting community first. Like that's above everything is community first.
I think that's maybe why I'm not understanding, because as ridiculous as it sounds, like I've actually not been in any other alpha groups other than mine. And so like when I'm talking to you, like you're explaining what I'm seeing really well, and I didn't even realize other people don't do it this way. I just thought this was like what you're supposed to do. Like I have a call every week with the the NFT part of mine, like the top tier, and every week like we have AMAs with different groups, and I'm honest with them. I'm like, the AMA I thought was terrible. Like I thought their utility is not like, and we still have a partnership with them. We're still going to give away whitelist spots, and people can choose what to do with it. But I'm transparent and I'm ruthless. If it's trash and I think it's no good, I'm telling you, like whether we're working with them or not, like at the end of the day, like I'm here to serve you guys, to help you make money. And if these projects that are giving us opportunity to add value to our group doesn't make you money in the end, I'm going to tell you that. Like, I'm going to be straightforward about it, So I think the transparency is like the most important thing that maybe some other groups don't do as much as maybe we do. And I just didn't know that.
I think part of it might be that they can't offer the level of maybe information or just the analysis that you guys are doing in the same way. They don't have infrastructure for it, or they're just not plugged in the same way or whatever. And so for them, their business model is to more or less just like dump on the people nearest to them. And so what better way to find exit liquidity than
your own kind? That's so screwed, dude.
But I mean, like this happens with so many crypto YouTubers, so many, like big ups, what's his name? Zach XBT, right? On Twitter, who's like, will break down all of these insane scams that go on all the time. And it will be like, it'll be someone shilling their favorite altcoin for 2020, let's say, or 2021, 2022, whatever. And it's so obvious they do the video and they talk about the coin, or they'll put tweets out and they'll do a big tweet thread about how they're buying in now. And then it's very obvious, like they just instantly start selling. They'll track their wallets. They've been selling the whole time while they've been saying they've been buying.
Yeah,
and that's when it's like,
shady.
Yeah,
that's
definitely when it gets.
I do think it's
but that's a different thing to what you guys are doing.
I think it's harder to do that in NFTs because there's way less supply usually. And so like there's naturally less liquidity than coins. Like most coins, I imagine, have way more than a 10,000 or 5,000.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's easier to like keep track of, hey, you own 10 of these and you're dumping them as you're talking.
Right, and it looks like this.
We're not going to fall for that twice. Like it's pretty easy to spot that.
Fair.
I mean, I've seen it where influencers have kind of had their own groups and they've said, right, we're going to buy up to like 0.2, say, but then they'll list all theirs under 2. And then that will kind of...
Wow.
So it's literally a pump and jump group. And I'm part of like a few of them just so I can track exactly what they're doing and what the landscape looks like. So you're
going to have to tell me names after. I need to know.
Yeah, there's definitely people out there that do that. And again, people will sweep floors, so it'll come up on Mobi, and then there'll be like that the exit liquidity will be the people that are seeing it trending. And so there are a lot of people out there that do that. And again, as I said before, it's just that now we have access to all the information so we can see it happening. But I'm sure it's been happening in real life for like ever.
Yeah, for sure. 100. I mean, you see it all the time where people they'll buy into stuff that they don't understand, right? And that's to some extent human nature. So I don't think you can blame you guys or even to some extent the bad actors for taking advantage of like easy money. I mean, obviously it's immoral, I think, if you're a bad actor and you're completely taking advantage of like children, that's obviously not okay, but they're not the first people to do that, right? It's like, it's not like it's a new thing to crypto. It's all over the place.
And you also, and to your point about kind of the teenagers coming into the space, for me, I guess I'm not too worried because like if you have the increment to like be able to set up a MetaMask, buy crypto and actually learn how to trade, then I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. And that actually there's a big gap between like say watching one of your YouTube videos to actually converting them into the NFT space. So I don't feel like that there should be that much of a weight on your shoulder because it is very hard to say it. Like when I was 15, wouldn't have no clue. But like there are traders in our group who are still at school that are 17-year-olds that are like millionaires, but they are the most smartest because
they are. I have one example.
Because they're like digitally native anyway. They've grown up with like Fortnite. They've grown up with these games, so they understand it. Whereas people kind of my age are coming in and they don't understand it, and they're having to learn that whole digital side. So the 15, 16-year-olds are fine.
Yes. I mean, and there are so many who are so smart. And like you say, you've got your example. And off the top of my head, there's a guy called Josiah who was like really early in DeFi Kingdoms and then like exited like last year and made a whole load of money and was like went viral on Twitter. Like Erin's amazing. Like there's like a whole bunch of people that are like really cool younger folks that are clearly savvy and they're navigating the space well. I just cannot get away from the fear as someone that like has a lot of young viewers that like I have seen the extent of human stupidity and it is a deep hole. Like it goes so deep and that I guess just it makes me anxious, I guess. But it's again, it sounds like your due diligence that you're doing with the group is as good a thing as you could possibly do to combat all of the risks that those people would face in the space and help kind of make it just sort of safer for them.
And also you've got to think like this landscape's changed from like 10 years ago, maybe when you're first starting out, and that, you know, that you were probably the main person that they would go to for that information. But now that NFTs are here, like the access to that information is so much deeper than just what you're providing as well. So like they're able to get that source from a lot of different places. So there isn't so much focus on what you're producing as well. And yeah, so we've just got access to everything. So it's not, so you might say like, this game's great, but then I can just go and look and
there's a lot more of infrastructure around saying what the real, showing the real picture sort of thing. Yeah.
I also think from the YouTube side of things, at least my previous channel was a gaming channel, much like Milo. And the audience was male dominated and much younger skewing.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly young. NFT channel is way older. The large majority for me, at least on my channel, is 25 to 34, I think.
Are they faking their ages?
It's possible, but like, from talking to people in my group, like I said, there's one 16-year-old or maybe 17. He literally takes meetings during his study hall with other NFT groups and he crushes them. Like he's way ahead of his age.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, like people that are actively getting in the space and are willing to like put in the time to like figure out how to make a MetaMask and sign up and do it and like want to make money and are hungry and have that hustle, you don't have to worry about those kind of people.
Exactly.
I do agree with you to some degree. Like you have to be careful that like some people are younger and are just interested in this kind of world and like digital, like they might've been into sneakers and now they're moving to NFTs. I've seen that a lot. And they might not understand like the risks that are here that are clear and obvious to a lot of us that have been in the space for a while. So that's why education is so important. And I think the angle I've been taking on the videos or trying to is like education of like how this space works and what's going on and what's important to look at and that kind of thing. But it's true. I mean, like it keeps going back, like the market kind of works itself out in a lot of ways. It really does.
So with all of that said then, looping everything back to where we're at today with you being here for NFT LA, and I'm sure having met a bunch of folks that might be newer participants to NFTs, or they're people that you've known since like last year, like whenever that may be. Do you feel like at an event like this, because especially in LA, everyone's their own brand, they're all an influencer, everyone's on Instagram, etc. right? Have there been a lot of folks that you've met that are clearly, they're just kind of space cadets, they don't really know what's going on and they're just like, I'm just here because NFTs sound cool, man? Or is it a lot more the real sharp business acumen, even if they're young and they're just like, they're really clear on like either they're artists and they've got a really clear vision, or they're on the business side of it and they're executing or they're building or whatever? Like what sort of folks have you seen here for NFT LA that you've been sort of like hanging out with?
Yeah, of course. So I've actually just been hanging out with Metaverse HQ team a lot. Just because this is also kind of a business trip. So we're working, we're getting to know each other like in real life. In terms of like places that I've gone out to that have NFT people, I actually don't attend the conferences just because I feel like we are much more in the space and actually much more knowledgeable than a lot of the speakers. A lot of the speakers are kind of wanting to bring themselves into Web3, which is very odd. And
that's what I saw on Twitter. They're saying like people that are speaking at the conference don't even own NFTs.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
How is that a thing?
Exactly. And that's
when you know we're early. Just saying.
And I always think like the whole point of like NFTs, decentralization, community is like you don't really have the hierarchy, and it kind of really gets on my nerves that you have people at these conferences that are like CEOs or like that are really high up, and that's why they're selling tickets because it's based on their like authority. Whereas actually it's probably like your average like Joe down the corner that's probably a lot more like knowledgeable that should be talking that should be talking, who are in this space every day. And so for me it just wasn't the right fit for me to go. But in terms of like the events that I've gone to, it's just a completely different world. A lot of people are what you would say like a maxi for one project, and like that's all they know, that's all they live and breathe is like so for instance, I went to the Star Couchers one and it was like incredible, and everyone there was like really lovely, and it was people, but that's their first NFT, or that's their they only have one project, or they'll like Star Catchers and they'll like Wonder Pals because they came out at the same time and the communities are very similar. And also like a lot of people have full-time jobs, right? So this is my full-time job and it has been since I started. So I'm very much fortunate that I can be in this space like all the time, whereas again they're just using the amount of time that they have spare to be in NFTs, and all that can all that can be is like Star Catchers and Wonder Pals, and then they a lot of people have the mentality that like this will be like the next Bored Apes, so that's why they're just staying with this one project. And I think that a lot, it's just for me, I feel like although not so much as most of the people in our alpha community, but we live in this big bubble.
Yeah.
And then now we've kind of met a few other people, we've realized like how much of a bubble we are living in compared to the rest of the NFT space. But yeah, it's been really fun and really interesting. Like they've been completely different to like the other NFT events I've gone to.
Oh,
like,
this one has specifically.
Yeah.
Okay,
the
cool.
LA ones is, well, a lot of my friends were saying it's much more LA than like the other NFT events I've gone to. But yeah, it's been really fun.
Cool, because I've seen things happening. Like I've seen different events, whether it's been for NFTs or for just crypto in general. There's one in Miami in a couple of months that I'm thinking of probably going down to. I've got some friends out there. And it's like I've from the outsider perspective, I've sort of seen them, and like some of them charge a lot of money for the conference as well.
Yeah.
It's like $1,000 or more. I think NFT LA, I think the base ticket was about $550, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, other conferences, especially if they don't own NFTs, like
the thing is, you might as well like go to the after events, because that's where everyone from the conference is going to be anyway. And I have found that like networking at these events is just a lot better, because you're all like a bit more kind of in the spirit of things.
And you can chat. You can't really chat if you're at like a conference watching Bill Gates tell you about NFTs. Like
everyone's a little looser. You know, drinking a little bit maybe. Or easier to talk to people.
Especially after like last night with the Azuki party. Which I think
I did go to,
I don't know if you saw the clip of this. They get to the end of like some kind of presentation that was going on stage, and they're like,
airdropped.
By the way, check your wallets.
Oh, honestly.
That's the coolest thing in the goddamn world.
I was up while it happened. I was like considering buying one or two of them. They were going like, they're still going like crazy.
Yeah, no.
I've never wanted to have an Azuki more than I did last night.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
It was so cool the way they executed that. And so I mean, that's going to get some conversation going. When you're like
definitely.
in a room with all these people that are suddenly everyone's on their phone and they're like, oh my God, I've got this crate. And like,
it was insane.
That is very cool. So it's something that I'm really excited to see more of, is less I want to go to a conference and hear X person tell me about their blockchain. Not for me so much. For builders, I'm sure useful, but for me, not so much. But the prospects of when NFTs will start being integrated into events and used to like empower new experiences in that way, that's cool as hell.
Yeah,
like, God damn, that's cool. Yeah.
And that's exactly how like I foresee the space going as well, is like the in real life utility of like the NFTs, because we're all humans, right? And we all want like contact and community and to be part of something like bigger than ourselves. So at the moment we're doing that online, but I don't feel like it's as fulfilling. So like we're kind of taking that into the real life and then having those experiences and making those bonds. And essentially like, although PFP projects kind of have a few different faces, they are memberships to a community, and they are a visual identity. They're just that small part of your visual physical identity. So the more it makes sense, the more you get to know these communities and the more you get to know the people, you want to show them more of yourself, which is what you do when you meet physically, right?
Yeah.
So you have your online identity and you have your physical identity, and that's where at these events those two things merge.
Yeah. And when we get just a little further into the future and we get more stuff like Azuki just being like, check your wallets, everybody. Or even just things like, I mean, people have been talking about this for a while, of like, you go to a music festival and you tap in somehow, like they get you to just sign in with your wallet or something there. And even if it's just like a POAP, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, you've clearly attended, there's something for that, or it integrates in a deeper way. There's some kind of ARG, there's some kind of like experience that is uniquely crafted that does rely on your wallet address signing in, as opposed to it just being a random database entry in a like MySQL server. That will be so good. I don't think we're quite there, but
we're not there at all yet.
Right. But when we're there,
which part of that are you most excited for? Because I'm talking to a group that's doing almost identical to what you just said. But the problem I think with that, the biggest problem is it's so location based.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like if you don't live in that area or can't afford to like,
but so is any event you've ever gone to in your life.
True. I just think it limits the like potential because it's. I just think it limits the potential a lot because it's so location based.
When you go to an escape room in LA,
yeah, but you can go to an escape room anywhere in the country. If it's a music festival like Coachella, it's in one spot at one time, and if you're not there or can't be there, then you lose that utility of that membership essentially.
Let's use the escape room just as an example, real quick. Yep. You go to an escape room. There is some kind of custom experience, and it doesn't necessarily need to be that at the end of it you complete the escape room and you like get a POAP saying I was there. It doesn't need to be that. It could be that you go to the escape room, you do that thing. The escape room is something that they can have pop-ups all over the country. It doesn't need to be one specific one, like just hypothetically, right? And then you complete a load of puzzles, and depending on you completing the puzzles and how you interacted in the real world in that moment, that then either unlocks something digital, or it means that you have a character created that has certain attributes that are digital, or there's just some kind of extension to it in the internet world, the blockchain world, that is not purely like, I was here. Like those sorts of things, when your physical actions can cross over, and then maybe you do some stuff in the game, and then maybe you go back to one of these things, and you've leveled up a bunch in DeFi Kingdoms, and then you can use that in one of these rooms to do like that. To me,
that's cool.
I love like puzzles and all sorts of stuff. And I also am a massive fan of escape rooms, just as it happens. But like it's those sorts of things where there's room for it to like bounce back and forth.
So it's like basically extending the experience from in real life to digital, and then digital to in real life.
100%. And that's one of the things that I'm curious about what Parallel are going to do. I think that Parallel obviously have their card game. Parallel Alpha, like it's essentially like Hearthstone, but on the blockchain, let's call it. And the sort of angle of it that I don't really know where they're going to go with is their AR side of things. They're doing loads of AR work. So you can pull up a card and you can like with your phone, I'm not sure exactly how they're doing it, like I've said, but you can like point your phone out your window and just see like massive structures that are in real time being like projected into that space. And this is not new. I've seen this like 4 or 5 years ago with like even like Call of Duty, which I cover on my channel. The marketing teams in like 2017, 18 were using Snapchat filters to do the same thing. Yeah. But it's a question of like if they can get to a point somehow where they're projecting this thing in this AR vision, right? If they're able to, for instance, project like the battlefield of the game into AR around me in a space, that sounds amazing. Like that sounds super cool. And it's those areas of overlap that I'm like, I need this, but we're not there. We're definitely not there yet.
No.
But when we get there, it's going to be so good. Yeah. We're just not quite there yet.
Again, that goes back to like the first thing that I said about how we're not using the blockchain responsibly. And like these are the kind of things that are going to take years to build, but at the moment we're thinking like hour by hour, day by day.
PFP
and we're not,
PFP.
We're not, yeah, exactly. We're not thinking of the macro of the space. We're just thinking like day by day at the moment. And it is like these things are being built. They are. Yep. And we're speaking to lots of different, like communities or projects that want to do in real life utility for their like token gated by an NFT. But these things take a lot of time, and that's what is being built at the moment. And that's why I say in a few years' time, it's going to look so different to what it does now. And the landscape will be using it a lot more responsible than we are now. So,
well, on that note of becoming responsible
adults
at some point, I'm not there yet, but I'll work towards it. I think that we've covered a huge amount of ground. Where can people find you if they want to check you out on Twitter or wherever?
So Twitter is Meg Thorpe Art, and then that's it really. That's the best place to contact me. Yeah, amazing.
Well, thank you so much for
the
really awesome conversation. It's been so much fun.
Yeah,
Incredible.
It's been great.
Thanks for coming.
Screw you, though.
Dude, it sounds like we have some differences now.
Scam.
I didn't realize we were on different pages before this podcast started. I mean, we have some things to talk about. Let's just say that.
Cut the cameras. Yeah, it's been really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Good.
Seriously,
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Great talk.